Hello guys, welcome to Learn with Rahul. So today we're back with another new topic. So today we're going to talk about Ozymandias by PB Shelly. Uh, so before I start, I have a humble request for you guys. Please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. Your subscription will be a big motivation for me. So let's start. English Romantic poet Percy B. Shelley (1792 to 1820) wrote a sonnet, first published in the 11 January 1818 issue of the Examiner in London. It was included the following year in Shelley's collection Rosalind and Helen, a modern eclogue, with other poems 1819, and in a posthumous compilation of his poems published in 1826. Ozymandias is Shelley's most famous work and is frequently anthologized. Shelley wrote the poem in friendly competition with his friend and fellow poet Horace Smith (1779 to 1849), who also wrote a sonnet on the same topic with the same title. Smith's poem was published in the Examiner a few weeks after Shelley's sonnet. Both poems explore the fate of history and the ravages of time. Even the greatest men and the empires they forge and impermanent their legacies fated to decay into oblivion. In antiquity, Ozymandias was a Greek name for the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II. Shelley began writing his poem in 1817, soon after the announcement of the British Museum's acquisition of a large fragment of statue of Ramesses II from the 13th century BC, leading some scholars to believe that Shelley was inspired by this. The 725-ton fragment of the statue's head and torso has been removed in 1816 from the mortuary temple of Ramesses, the Ramesseum, at Thebes by Italian adventurer Giovanni Battista Belgioni. It was expected to arrive in London in 1818 but did not arrive until 1821. Now let's talk about the summary of this poem. The speaker recalls having met a traveler from an antique land who told him a story about the ruins of a statue in the desert of his native country. Two vast legs of stone stand without a body, and near them a massive crumbling stone head lies half sunk in the sand. The traveler told the speaker that the frown and sneer of cold command on the statue's face indicate that the sculptor understood well the emotions or passions of the statue's subject. The memory of those emotions survives stamped on the lifeless statue, even though both the sculptor and his subject are both now dead. On the pedestal of the statue appears the words, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." But around the decaying ruin of the statue, nothing remains, only the lone and level sands which sketch out around it. Now let's talk about the form of this poem. Ozymandias is a sonnet, a 14-line poem metered in iambic pentameter. The rhyme scheme is somewhat unusual for a sonnet of this era. It does not fit a conventional Petrarchan pattern but instead interlinks the octave, a term for the first 8 lines of a sonnet, with the sestet, a term for the first 6 lines, by gradually replacing old rhymes with new ones in the form A B A B A C D C E D E F E F. Now let's talk about the commentary. The sonnet from 1817 is probably Shelley's most famous and most anthologized poems, which is somewhat strange considering that it is in many ways an apical poem for Shelley, and that its touches little upon the most important themes in his over at large: beauty, expression, love, imagination. Still, Ozymandias is masterful sonnet. Essentially, it is devoted to a single metaphor: the shattered, ruined statue in the desert wasteland, with his arrogant, passionate face and monomaniacal inscription. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. And once great king's proud boast has been ironically disproved. Ozymandias' works have crumbled and disappeared. His civilization is gone. All has been turned to dust by the impersonal, indiscriminate, destructive power of history. The ruined statue is now merely a monument to one man's hubris and a powerful statement about the insignificance of human beings of the passage of time. Ozymandias is first and foremost a metaphor for the ephemeral nature of political power, and in the sense the poem is Shelley's most outstanding political sonnet, treading the specific rag of a poem like England in 1819 for the crushing impersonal metaphor of the statue. But Ozymandias symbolizes not only political power, the statue can be a metaphor for the pride and hubris of all of humanity in any of his manifestations. It is significant that all that remains of Ozymandias is a work of art and a group of words. As Shakespeare does in the sonnet, Shelley demonstrates that art and language long outlast the other legacies of power. Of course, it is Shelley's brilliant poetic rendering of the story and not the subject of the story itself, which makes the poem so memorable. Framing the sonnet as a story told to the speaker by traveler from an antique land enables Shelley to add another level of obscurity to Ozymandias' position with regard to the reader, rather than seeing the statue with our own eyes, to so to speak. We hear about it from someone who heard about it from someone who has seen it. Thus, the ancient king is rendered even less commanding. The distancing of the narrative serves to undermine his power over us just as completely as has the passage of time. Shelley's description of the statue works to reconstruct gradually the figure of the King of Kings. First, we see merely the shattered visage, then the face itself, with its frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold humor. Then we are introduced to the figure of the sculptor and are able to imagine the living man sculpting the living king, whose face wore the expression of the passions now ineffable. Then we are introduced to the king's people in the line, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. The kingdom is now imaginatively complete, and we are introduced to the extraordinary, prideful boast of the king. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. With that, the poet demolishes our imaginary picture of the king and interposes centuries of ruin between it and us. Look on my works, a mighty and despair. Nothing beside remains, round and decay. Of course, colossal brick, boundless and bare. The lone and level stands scratch far away. So that's all for today, guys. I hope this video will be a great help for you. So don't forget to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. Love you guys. Thank you. Bye. Take care. Over and out.